Hi, I wanted to show a few brief demonstrations of how to use AI with some apps that many of us already use, and just to kind of give us some things to think about while we're using them in terms of whether or not we want to incorporate AI into our class and all of those things. The first one I'll demonstrate with is with Canva. We've all used Canva probably millions of times, whether creating worksheets or invitations and things like that. And if I go to create a design, and I will just choose something like a postcard, something simple. Maybe it could be for an invitation. And the first thing I'll show is if I just use text on here, and this kind of goes, whether or not you want to use AI. And there are some people who think, we need to forbid people from using it. I never want to use it. I don't want to do any of those things. And whether or not we know it, sometimes we are using it. Let's say here, right here, let's pretend this is an entire paragraph of text and I wanted to proofread this. When I select that and I go up here to the top, there's no spell check, just a regular spell check up here. What you do is you go to Magic Write, and then you can go to Fix Spelling, and this Magic Write is Canva's tool for AI of how they incorporate it into their writing. In here, when I'm going through this text, it is actually using AI to help find that. Sometimes we're using it without even thinking it. And more, we're going to be seeing AI being tied into spell check, grammar check, and all of those kind of things. The next thing we can do is we can go over to Magic Write, and I can put in some text for a prompt of what I want this to create for me. So I'm going to type in here invitation for my school's trunk or treat event, free treat, and prizes for creative costumes. No charge to enter. All right, then I'm going to click generate. It gives us our information there. I'll click insert, and it creates our document here. With this, we can see we have our event here that it generated, and it gives us some things where we can input information that we want, but we can obviously go in and we can select and change anything in there that we want to. Now, if you have this created, or maybe you created your own prompt or your own text for the invitation, and if you have that selected, and maybe you want to spice it up a little bit, you can go up here to Magic Write, and then you can go to more fun. You could go to more formal. If that was the case, this is something that we want to be kind of fun. So I'm going to select here more fun, and it rewrites this. And then we have a little bit more voice added in there. And again, you can go back and you can change any of this to more accurately reflect what you're trying to say. It's probably unlikely that it's going to know 100% exactly what you want it to say. You could always go in there and change that. If you wanted to add a picture to that, then you could go over here to elements, and they do have images that you can add, but you can also use AI to generate your own image. So if you go here, generate your own image, maybe in here I want to put a kitten playing with a small pumpkin. And let's see what it comes up with for us. These are pretty cute pictures of kittens on there. And this is the prompt that I used. And maybe I want to try something different. Maybe I don't want it to be a real kitten. Maybe I want it to be a cartoon kitten playing with a small pumpkin. And would you look at that? This one here, pretty adorable. I can shrink that down and place that wherever. And if I wanted this to be, an actual invitation, I could maybe fill this text here on one side till I kind of get it in there where I want that, and maybe change the background to be older paper or something along those lines. But that gives you some ideas of a way where you can kind of play around with AI, where if you're a little leery of it and you're a little worried about, the negative implications, you can build something creative with this and do something that has, that's fun to use with your kids. Now, again, I like to use Canva as an example because that's something we all use. Now, if you wanted to get your students kind of learning how to use AI, you could use this image creator and have that demonstrated in front of your class. And maybe you're going to have like a Mad Libs, and maybe so you're learning about different types of words to use. You could ask students like for a noun, and then you could have them share an adjective and share a verb, and then put those words together in AI and generate a picture of their creation where they're practicing their English words. For example, that's one example. The second thing that I wanted to show is basically kind of the same text to image is with Adobe Express. So you can create a free account with this also. And I am a fan of Adobe products, so I actually have the paid version for this, but you can do this with the free version too. And so if I go to create a new object in here, and maybe this is just going to be a advertisement object on here. It doesn't, you can make it any size or shape that you want. But this one also, when you go to media and you can generate an image, they also have templates you can generate using AI prompts, but they don't work very well. But if I go to generate an image and go to square, I could go in here, and along the same themes, I could put in here jack-o'-lantern surrounded by candy on Halloween. You can change if you want it to be art or if you want it to be more photorealistic. There's different filters and things like that. You can play around with that and you can generate more options in there. This is something you could obviously use with your students for that same activity where you're having them, you could either have them try it on their own if they have access to their own accounts, or if you're like, you know what, I don't really want my students to have, I'm a little worried about that or whatever, then as a classroom activity, they could sit there and you could get volunteers to share those ideas. Or maybe you're having those students come up with their own prompts in small groups, and then they share their groups out loud to the class. And then as the teacher, you can put that in and then use these creations. Even though you could technically do this exact same process with Canva, I like to use Adobe Express's app for this. And the reason why is because the generation that they use, because with AI, they need to use data to build these creations. Well, all of the data for Adobe's AI is used from Adobe's very own stock images. Then that gives me the opportunity to say, you know what, sometimes AI generates images from copyrighted pictures that are out there. And we don't necessarily know how the laws and how the ethics of that are going to change over time. But with Adobe, we know where it's generating these images from their own stock footage. I'm always safe to use this. And then you can emphasize that responsibility piece along with this too. Canva works really well if you're looking to create things. And, I do like that magic write that they have in there because it's kind of fun to play around with and see what it can come up with. But then Adobe, obviously it's designing software, so you can kind of create more elaborate projects with it. I'm a big fan of both, but I really do like the Adobe. So there's a few ways on how you can incorporate AI into your teaching or for creating projects, and how you can even throw in some information about ethics and responsibility with it too, using these two apps that you can use for free for no charge at all. Pretty cool stuff. Hopefully that helps you out and gives you some ideas. I appreciate you watching, and let me know if you have any questions.